Hello again and welcome to Why Don't You Want My Stuff? I am your host, Josh Levine, and I know what you're wondering. Where can I get a shirt with monkeys and bananas and palm trees on it? I don't know, my wife got this for me somewhere, and I rarely wear it because it's too small for me and my gut sticks out. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you one of my great stories. I'm gonna have tons of stories to share with you, but this one's always a classic, great cocktail party story about what we do. So let's go. I'm going to take you to a magical place called Mesa, Arizona, and called Pleasure World. It's a 55 and older trailer community in Mesa. A lot of retirees. Looks like it was probably put there in the 60s or 70s. Has a golf course community. It's what you picture 1960, 1970, like a time capsule of Mesa. Well, I get a phone call from a gentleman who just wants to hire my services as an appraiser to come out and take a look at the contents of his mom's trailer and see if the offer they had received was fair. They had the property sold for $30,000 and a gentleman had offered to buy everything in the trailer for $5,000. So I roll up there, I show up, suit and tie, because I always wear a suit and tie when I'm going to meet a client, because if you meet a client in Arizona in a suit and tie and 110 degrees, you got the job, because they either think you're nuts or you must know what you're doing. But I always believe looking professional. That's why I wear this wonderful professional shirt I'm wearing today. But anyway, I digress. So let's go back to Mesa. I get there and I meet my client, who's a sweet man, and he tells me the story. The house is sold for $30,000. A gentleman has offered them $5,000 for the contents. I get there in a suit and he says, "Sir, I'm really embarrassed to even have you here. My mom was a hoarder. It's kind of a mess in there. I don't want you to go in your suit." I explained to him that, this suit was purchased at a Men's Warehouse, buy one, get one free. And this is my free one, and my jeans probably cost more. So, let's go in the house. So I also explained to him that my parents were hoarders, because I tell everybody too much information and talk way too much. That's why I'm doing vlogs now, so I can talk to other people, because no one wants to hear my stories in the house anymore. So I digress again. So I'm telling you this story, and the gentleman explains to me that he's been offered $5,000. And I said, look, if I go in the house and I see $10,000 worth of stuff, I'm gonna tell you, take the $5,000 and run. It's a sure thing. You don't know how an auction might work, or a yard sale, estate sale, the time and money. If somebody wants to double their money, God bless them. In my industry, the work you do for your commission or for that $5,000 profit, moving the things, hiring movers, having advertising a sale, et cetera, they earn their money. But if I see more than $10,000, I'm gonna tell him, hey, look, hire me and I'll liquidate it for you. So I explained this to him, and I had walked on several like this where I'm like, hey, take the money and run. Anyway, I go in, I don't get 5 feet into the living room, circle around, and I said, whoever offered you $5,000, don't ever let them in this house again. Lock this place down and I will sell it for you. And he says, well, how much do you see here? And I said, sir, I don't speak in absolutes, because I'm an auctioneer. I am not Nostradamus. I don't know what it's going to sell for, but I see $25,000 here. And he's like, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah. And I hadn't even pulled out a drawer or looked at anything. Now let's go back to when I walked in the carport, there was a 30-yard dumpster. So that was full. And to my understanding, things had already been removed from the house. So anyway, I get back in the house and it looked like I was in 1880 Germany. It was insane. And what I mean by that, all the antiques, where there was a lot of Black Forest carvings, German bronzes, there were German silver candelabras. And when I say German silver, I don't mean the nickel silver, I mean 800 silver. If you ever see silver marked 800, it means it's 80% silver. It's not sterling, but it's 80% silver. There were candelabras in the house, ice buckets, et cetera, et cetera. Everything had dust on it, as it does, everything, had a little bit of damage. Guess what? If you lived and enjoyed it, that's how it would really look. But it was all in state. So a friend of mine and I went over to the house about a month later, and it was making me so nervous knowing this stuff was locked up. The family lived in Colorado, so they had gone back home, but they were gonna meet me later, plus it would be a little cooler because it was still really hot outside. And we went and packed the place out. And while we're loading all the stuff up, we're finding all this World War II memorabilia in these trunks. And oh, don't forget, in the dumpster, there were some military trunks, etc. And I'm like, you know, why are these in the dumpster? And they were like, I say, don't throw anything away. They were like, well, why would somebody want somebody's old correspondence and old letters and old stuff like that? It's just personal stuff that nobody would want. I said, well, who is your father? And he explained to me that he was a general during World War II, and he was actually a prison warden on an island off of Capri, Capri off of Italy, and he was accommodated for running one of the nicest prison camps during World War II. It was all for officers, for fascist officers and German officers, but they were all kept there on the island, and he treated everyone so well that when the war was over, they accommodated him for having this well-run. But anyway, so he had medals and all these accommodations that were extremely rare. And to World War II collectors, this stuff was history. So long story short, by the time we were all done, the estate grossed over $65,000. Now, remember, the house sold for $35,000, and the goal was just to get the house empty, and that was $5,000. So again, you see people, and this guy was super sweet man and super intelligent. He knew, you know, there were some nice things in the house, but the things that he didn't think had any value was where all the value was. So again, that was one of my favorite. Again, it was also one of my favorites because he's the most pleasant person to ever work for. Just a great story. I wish they could all be like that. I got some horror stories for you too. As I said, we're the messenger. We often get shot. But actually, I shouldn't say this out loud. I think that's the only thing that never happened to me at an auction. Oh! No, I will tell you that story. I was shot at an auction once. I will tell that story later. It has a happy ending, obviously, because I'm here from the netherworld. Take care. Talk to you soon.